Welcome to the April 25th, 2024 meeting of the Raleigh Historic Development Commission Certificate of Appropriateness Committee. My name is Wes Tripp, and I'm chair of the committee. The COA committee is a quasi-judicial body governed by North Carolina general statutes and the city's Unified Development Ordinance, and we are authorized to hear requests for certificates of appropriateness. This time I'll recognize staff to call the roll.
Jordan Ryland.
Here.
Wes Tripp.
Here.
Lauren Woodard.
Here.
Rob Allen.
Here.
Tracy Coons.
Here.
Recognize the presence of a quorum here today. If you have not already done so, please come forward and sign the attendance roster. Agenda and staff reports are available online, and a handout of today's meeting procedure is also available. The Certificate of Appropriateness Committee of Raleigh Historic Development Commission consists of residents of historic districts, architects, intern architects, architectural consultants, and contractors, attorneys and historians, urban planners, and historic preservationists. Each of us was appointed by City Council to this body, and we serve on this committee for the purpose I stated earlier to approve requests for certificates of appropriateness. This time I'll start with commissioner introductions and ask each of my fellow commissioners to introduce themselves, highlight their relevant experience. We'll start with Mr. Ryland and work our way down.
Hi, my name is Jordan Ryland. I'm a local architect and Raleigh resident of 15 years.
Yes, I'm Francis Raspberry. I'm an attorney with a local law firm, and I'm legal counsel to the Certificate of Appropriateness Committee.
And again, my name is Wes Tripp. I am chair of the committee, also a local attorney here in Raleigh.
I'm Lauren Woodard. I'm a local architect and a resident of Raleigh for 13 years.
I'm Rob Allen. I work with an architecture firm doing mostly commercial projects. I'm a resident of the Boylan Heights Historic District and have also done my own COA, which I figured I should say on this board sometime. So thanks.
So you've been through the torture.
I've been on the other side of this dais, yes.
Tracy Coons, resident of the historic Glenwood, Brooklyn neighborhood, and I work in the building materials industry here in Raleigh.
All right, and recognize staff for them to introduce themselves as well.
Hello, I am Colette Canane. I am one of the commission staff. I have been with the city for about 6 years, and I have a master's degree in historic preservation.
Good evening. I'm Erin Morton Pugh. I'm also a senior preservation planner with the city for 4 years now, and I also have a master's in historic preservation.
All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting as published.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The question for the committee's approval of the agenda is published. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now I'll entertain a motion to entertain approval of the minutes for the March 28, 2024 meeting of the COA committee.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and second to approve the minutes for the March 28, 2024 meeting. Hearing no discussion or debate, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Staff, or how many minor works were approved in the last month?
We approved 7 minor works this month.
All right, excellent. Okay, we're now ready to move on to the cases on today's agenda. In hearing cases, the committee conducts a quasi-judicial evidentiary hearing. That means that today's hearing is like a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how this committee must make its decisions. These rules are different from some other types of land use decisions like rezoning cases, which are legislative in nature. The committee's decisions are constrained by the standard of review set forth in state law and the city's Unified Development Ordinance and the facts presented at today's hearings. The committee hears and considers evidence presented at the hearing and applies the standards set forth in state law and the city's ordinance. The committee must base its decisions upon competent, material, and substantial evidence presented at the hearing. If you will be speaking as a witness today, please focus on the facts and standard, not personal preference or opinion. Participation is limited, but this meeting is open to the public. Everyone is welcome to watch. Parties have rights to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Witnesses may testify as to facts to which they are competent to testify, so long as those facts relate to the legal standard. In addition, lay or non-expert witness testimony is limited to facts and not opinions. For certain topics, the committee does hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and whether or not the proposed change is incongruous with the special character of the district or historic property. We will now conduct the evidentiary hearings on today's agenda. The first hearing is COA 0146-2023. This is 419 Watauga Street. I'll recognize staff for their presentation.
Would you like to swear us all in first?
Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and do that first. Both of you will please raise your right hand. Go ahead and swear you in for the matters you'll be presenting today. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I do.
Now, for 419 Watauga Street, the staff presentation.
Sure. So I'll go ahead and run through the staff presentation, and then we'll ask the applicant to come up and be sworn in case they have additional information. We do have a presentation available. So this is case COA 146-2023 for 419 Watauga Street in the Oakwood Historic District. The request is to construct a new 4-story primary structure, construct a driveway, remove trees, and plant foundation and perimeter screen plantings. This is just a brief overview of the currently vacant lot. Same photos you've seen for the past 2 hearings on this case. Summary of staff concerns is the congruity of the overall height, size, scale, and mass of the proposed building. Congruity of the proposed roof forms. Built mass calculations have not been provided. Contributing evidence for the size or configuration of some of the door and windows details, and then additional typical detail specifications that could be conditioned. And we have the full application materials that are already attached to the agenda available as a digital presentation for the applicant, just in case that's needed, and also some new neighborhood photo example information as well.
All right, thank you. This time will the applicant please come forward? Please state your name, address in relation to the case.
Mario Milano, 4014 Abbey Parkway, Raleigh, owner of the property of Watauga.
Hi, Nina Milano, 4014 Abbey Parkway, Raleigh, owner of the property.
Okay. Will both of you be presenting today?
Well, our architect, Ms. Christine, will actually be representing and elaborating on our application. She's unfortunately slightly delayed. There was a slight fender bender on a Capitol Boulevard. In her absence, I will start the presentation.
Okay. If you're fine with that, we can proceed. Let me just go ahead and swear you in. Do you solemnly swear, or just go ahead and raise your right hand? You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Great. Thank you. You may proceed.
So, in the absence of Ms. Christine, I would like to just kind of open up that since the last meeting, we went back to the drawing board. We actually made significant strides in redesigning and taking into consideration all of your comments. We actually made significant change that we were actually reducing the overall height of the proposed structure due to the fact that you made a comment that was too high. Even we provided ample examples and calculations, empirical data in regards to the height in comparison to the neighboring properties. In this regard, we actually from 43 feet from the lowest point on the grade, we actually reduced overall height to 39.3. Which actually is over 10% reduction in overall height. And we consider that significant. 10% in any statistical terms, it's a significant change. Also in that regard, we actually took your commentary in regards to the massing on the front. So we actually reduced, the 4th story to the 2.5 story, basically 2-story, first floor, second floor, and just a dormer on the front that is actually access to the attic. And we are proposing large front porch due to the fact that apparently congruity was in regards to the large porches in the Oakwood Historical Community. So we are actually proposing the entire frontage of the house to be actually front porch, which is a significant change to our overall design. And we are doing so we can actually convince you that this is actually congruous to the overall appearance of the historical structures. Also, we actually made a change in the location of our stairwell in order to actually help alignment of the windows on the front, so that none of the windows are actually out of the balance with the rest of the windows. So they're all in same size and so all in the same line in regards to fenestration pattern. And we located our stairs to the side, so technically we do have a stair shaft that kind of like, has one window that is actually off the balance with the rest of the windows. So at this point, Ms. Christine actually came in, so I will actually yield and I will let her to take over the presentation.
And before you begin, let me just go ahead and swear you in. You just raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry I'm late. Quick question on the proposal. Okay, I got the comments back that we didn't have information on the heights, and as I was printing a copy to bring with me today, I realized, oh my gosh, the image isn't there. So I'm wondering if that was the issue with you guys. On page 19, 20, 23. Anyways, I printed all these out just in case because I wasn't sure. We looked at our PDF, and when we reduced the size, remember we reduced the size of the document?
Now, you're welcome to present any information to the committee and talk about any facts and features about the application that you want
Okay.
to allay any concerns.
Okay, yeah, well, I just wasn't sure if it was actually, I can look through here and see. Okay, perfect. Let's see. I do. But it may be in there.
So this is included in the application materials that have been provided.
It should have been.
It is.
It is.
The staff comment was in reference to the front elevation drawing specifically, rather than overall diagrams.
Okay.
But I'll, unless there are questions for me,
Okay. Okay, so what did I miss? So, go ahead. Just start from the beginning. Okay. Hello, I'm Dawn. Happy Thursday. Okay, so I guess the building height seems to me like still the pressing issue on the design. Am I understanding the feedback correctly?
You can feel free to make your presentation. It's not really a place for you to ask us questions. We're here to hear your presentation. You have been present the past 2 times that this matter was up for hearing and listened to the comments that we all made. So we're here to hear from you and learn about what has changed in the application from last time. And yeah, so we'll go from there.
Okay, so we basically redesigned this. We removed the garage out from below. We took out 8 inches out of our floor to ceiling height on the first floor. So instead of having a 10-foot ceiling, we have a 9-foot floor ceiling. We did not change the position of the finished floor in the front to the grade. As we had talked, you guys had explained to us we didn't need to because nobody wants a subterranean main floor. So we kept the first floor where it was. We broke up the height of the building by extending that front porch all the way over. We also extended the planter all the way over in order to emphasize the horizontality of the design. On the side, we removed the garage, as I formerly stated, on the left side, and we have just an access door kind of at a mid-level, so it's a split-level entry from the side, so you can get into the basement and access that storage, and it can be utility and for the lawn equipment storage and that type of thing. And Then let me see, let me get here to side. This. Okay, there it is. Okay, so we added water tables again on the left side to break the horizontality. And we added a lot of windows. We made it a more harmonious window, more traditional window pattern. All the windows have equal head height with the exception of the stair hall. The roof line is broken with the gables. We've shown precedents of cascading gables in our examples. We broke up even the horizontal plane with trim boards between the screen porch, that second floor space. We've got horizontal siding and then a trim board, and then we've got a roof patio above that. On the back, we pretty much kept everything the same on the back. And then on the other side, again, we just took that water table idea around, and we had talked about this in our last meeting. You can see on the back elevation, there's a small gable on the left and a small gable on the right, and both of those gables seek to conceal that low slope roof on the attic level. And so from the side, it looks like just a traditional gable on both side views. And then we adapted our floor plan to make everything work out. We shifted our staircase back to try to get a more traditional organization of windows on the front, because that was one of the comments, that the windows and their position due to the stair were non-traditional, so we adjusted that. We provided all the eave details that are in the submittal, and then we updated the floor plans accordingly and the roof plans. And then we updated all the drawings that have the height diagrams. And per our last meeting, there was discussion about, what is the basis, what does the RHDC have as a basis for measuring height? And it was noted that they don't really have a standard for that. And in this lot, because it slopes from low to high, we have a larger height to deal with in the front of the building, whereas the folks on the back side of this block have a lower height, and the slope works in their favor from the front, whereas our design, the slope works against us. So it would seem to be rational to compare the building heights relative to the first floor rather than to the grade. In all these examples, the building height is comparable and within the 10% of all the houses that are around this house. You can see in this example, it's got a 3-story back, it's got a 2-story, 2.5-story front. .418 Elm Street, the same thing. It's got a whole first floor below the main level on the back side of the house. 404 Elm Street, same condition. It's got some steps up to the main floor, but again, it's got 2.5 stories, and if you count that gable roof on the side, it's got a full accessible attic in that house. So in all these comparisons, our house is at 32.6 here, and that's taking it from below the grade, from below the finished floor, and it's very comparable to all the houses that are in this block. This diagram shows the height off of the back grade and the height off of the front grade, and then an average grade. And in comparison to all the houses that are around it, you can see it is well within 10% of all the houses on its block. Here we have examples of cascading gables. different size gables, different position gables. All on the front facades. We've got example of tall structures, steep roofs right here. We got 3 stories going on in this house on 218 East Street. We've got steep roofs here on 414 North Bloodworth Street. And we've got a mixed roof line up here. This house also on 218 also has a mixed roof line. We see glass doors as a precedent in all these examples. Here we see at 405 East Franklin, we see a modern design with a low slope roof, a hip roof, and then a lower slope hip roof. This is a combination of more modern roof lines. 614 Polk Street, again, you've got cascading gables, you've got hip roofs, you've got low hip roofs, you've got a collage here. 304 Oakwood Avenue, we've got this really it's a 4-story piece. The main floor, the second floor, the third floor, and then there's even a whole story in the roof. So we've got a 4-story element here at 304 Oakwood Avenue. And again, just another element, another example of cascading gables. Multiple window patterns and non-aligning windows with small rectangles at 521 North Boundary Street. So with this design, not only did we compromise the garage, we compromised our ceiling heights, we compromised trying to address every comment and feedback that we received and try to provide some of these extra material details that you need and want. And of course, we will provide whatever other details and information that you need us to provide. And I'll conclude. There are just other examples of 3-story buildings here, 500 Polk Street. You got a 1, 2, 3 full stories right on the front of the house, right on the side of the house. You've got this big, massive vertical element here at 418 Person Street. 304 Oakwood, we've got a 4-story element right in the front. And we gave up all of our tall elements to try to meet the feedback that we've received. Again, 318 North Boundary Street, we got a 3-story wall here with no horizontal interruption. .501 Polk Street. Again, here we've got 3.5 stories on the front, full massing, no horizontal interruption. We also have an example of a cantilevered gable on the side. Here again, you have a very tall structure with an accessible lower level subterranean. And again, here's another example of a full 3-story uninterrupted wall plane, 509 North Boundary Street. And we can go on, but we'll conclude there, and I'll take comments, whatever questions or comments you have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else from the applicant? All right. Hearing none. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak in support of the application? Any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the case? All right, please come forward. State your name for the record, please.
Chris Crew.
All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
All right, I'll start with a brief CV since my credential to address you has been challenged in the past. I hold a college degree in English, including art classes. I have been a resident of historic Oakwood for 48 years, a property owner there for 35 years, been a government employee for 25 years with a responsibility to read, interpret, understand laws, codes, ordinances, policies, and guidance. So I think this submission, shows an effort to consider your previous advice given, and I still have 3 points of concern. First of all, the mix of the brick and siding on the front facade, the mixed porch roof pitches that impact the symmetry of the second-story windows, and the large mass at the rear of the building. Two of these are fairly easy to fix. All of these are addressed in the design guidelines. 3.3.7 suggests that we design new buildings to be congruous with surrounding buildings that contribute to the special character of the district in terms of height, form, size, scale, mass, proportion, architectural style, and roof shape. The height of new buildings should generally fall within 10% of nearby well-related buildings. This is still pushing that 10% guidance. The cube on the back is in tension with consistency in terms of both mass and roof shape. 3.3.9, design the spacing, placement, scale, orientation, proportion, and size of windows and door openings in proposed new construction to be compatible with surrounding buildings that contribute to the special character of the historic district. The asymmetry of the second floor windows on the front facade is not consistent or compatible with the symmetry of nearby well-related structures. The use of 2 different roof pitches, 12.8 on the south end, 12.6 on the north, is inconsistent with well-related surrounding contributing structures. The use of 12.6 or similar at both ends would allow that south end window to continue the symmetry of the first story and better reflect the character of the district. Also, per 3.3, it says compatibility of the building building at skin level is also critical. Certainly, the selection of appropriate exterior materials and finishes depends on understanding the compatibility of proposed materials and finishes in composition, scale, module, pattern, texture, color, and sheen. Section 3, changes of the building exterior, also provide pertinent information on traditional materials, features, and details. That is from the guidance. That this mix of brick, veneer, and clapboard on the front facade isn't compatible with the siding schemes of any contributing structure that I could identify. Painted brick is not compatible either with the character of the district. And a number of these buildings presented as evidence are not contributing structures. What may be considered mistakes or successes of the past shouldn't necessarily be considered precedent in the case of these non-contributing buildings, pointing to permission to this. So I think still with some conditions regarding the windows, the siding, and some other details, there's not a detail of the specific windows to be used. I think there's some things that could be settled at staff level and eventually get this to passing, but I don't think it's there yet. So thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comment from the public? All right, hearing none, the applicant, you do have the opportunity to provide a response if you'd like.
I just want to say that I respect Mr. Cruz's commentary. I just want to also remind that you opened up this meeting with a point that we should be speaking of the facts. And I don't have any comments in regards to his commentary due to the fact that he did not speak any facts. Dawn actually went through the pictorial, and she actually proved that all of the points that Mr. Krug brought up, we already addressed. So for that reason, I yield.
All right, thank you. This time we'll move on to committee questions. If I go ahead and have the applicant come back up, we'll open up the floor to my fellow commissioners for questions. I'll start. So I'm looking at the staff report, first point under height. It appears that staff computed that based on the drawings that you all submitted, the proposed building is 42 feet 4 inches from the top of the main roof to the bottom of the front steps and basement floor level. But the information that you all provided in your application, you provided an overall height dimension of 39 feet 9 inches from the highest point of the front facade on the north side. So why are y'all going off of that 39.9 number and not the 42.4 number?
I'm trying to get to the drawing.
That's fine. Take your time.
Okay, can you, I'm sorry. Can you
Yeah, sure.
repeat?
And I'm referring to the staff report under, this is bottom of page 3, first of page 4, staff concerns under height. The first point says, based on the revised drawings, the proposed building is 42 feet 4 inches tall from the top of the main roof to the bottom of the front steps and basement floor level. But then towards the end of point number 1, in bold, it says the applicant provided an overall height dimension of 39 feet 9 inches from the highest point of the front facade on the north side. So that's the number that y'all are going off of for height. So why is that the number instead of the 42.4?
Okay, so again, at the last meeting, first of all, is there a guideline in the guidelines that states where the building height should be taken from? Because I remember from our last meeting, that was the question we were discussing, and the answer was that no, that is not defined in the guidelines. So what I did was I gave you an average grade, I gave you a grade at the back, and I gave you a grade at the front foundation.
Thank you.
I just want to follow up on Wes's question. I mean, I think the other houses that you use as examples in your presentation, the lowest height is to the bottom step of the front facade. So I guess I understand maybe that there's no definition for height in the guidelines, but even within your own presentation doesn't seem to be consistent with how you've measured the height of the facade of your building versus the height of the facades of the other buildings you use as evidence. So could you just...
So here on this sheet again, you see we give them the dimension from the front and the dimension from the back. It is consistent. We give them, theirs is on grade in the front, and we don't go all the way to the bottom. We go to where their foundation hits. So we're going where the foundation hits the grade. We're not going all the way to the back of the steps.
I think if you go to the previous page, you'll see what I'm talking about. So example 22, you've N23, you've essentially got that red line drawn at the bottom of the front steps of both of those buildings, which...
So theirs is at 33 from the zero line. So add 3 feet to that, that's 36 feet. If you go from the stair, if you want to go from the stair, but I gave the finished floor the zero line. So it's -3 to the grade at the bottom of the stair on that image 23.
Okay.
So if you look at our diagram, we've got the first floor as 0. And then we have the 7'3" minus that's below the first floor. These are all relative to the first floor because that was the only consistent thing I could come up with the grade sloping.
Jordan, any other questions before I jump in? Okay. All right. Thanks for the updated application. I know you put a lot of work in it, and it's clear you listened to a lot of our feedback. I'm going to echo some of the questions still about height, and I think part of it is you're right. It's not codified the exact minimum and maximum heights, but when I look at a lot of the examples, I'm noticing, the page that we're looking at here, the examples, and I know we talked about this sometime in both of your previous meetings. It's challenging because you've got a very sloped site. So I think it presents, which is a phrase I've used before, very tall because you see a lot more of the basement level than you see in most of these examples. And for instance, on the right side of this page where you do see more of the basement level, you see less of the roof. So
and that would be the case on ours too, but remember in an elevation, everything is flattened. So, that roof is sloping away. So truthfully, if you're standing on that ground, you're not going to see our roof either. It's all perspective.
Potentially, but you do have a steep roof because of the height of that attic space. And I commend the reductions of the overall height. We're not trying to get to where you're making bad living space. I just want to be clear about that. But it still does have 4 stories of occupiable space.
Not really. The basement, we closed in completely. You only get there through that split level stair, and it's not going to be conditioned. It's really just for storage and equipment.
Okay.
But here's the thing. There are examples of steep roofs in the district, and we have given up. My client has given up all the things that he wanted, and the last remaining thing that he wanted was this steep roof. And now I feel like we're being backed into a corner. We've redesigned 3 times, completely redesigned to try to really meet all the comments. And he wants that steep roof, and we feel like it's a reasonable trade-off considering how much we gave up from when we met in December or November, I can't remember when it was, but the fall. And so I'm just asking, hey, look, the guidelines doesn't even define where the height is taken from. We're fighting a slope. It's not our fault. The lot is doing what it's doing. We have worked extensively to mitigate the height of the lot the best that we can without putting our main level subterranean in the back, which we all agree is a dumb idea. So the only other thing, we even, it's pretty common in the district to have 10-foot ceilings. We took 8 inches out of our main floor ceiling, 9-foot floor ceilings, so that we could drop this thing down. And we just feel like, we're being asked to give up everything, and we're not getting anything of what the client originally wanted. And so that is our concern.
If I might add, Raz, could you speak, given the number of design iterations that the applicant has brought over the course of, this is now the 3rd hearing, can you speak a little bit to the legal standard that the committee is required to consider in terms of determining congruity, not with necessarily the initial application to now, but just with that specific legal standard?
I would also add to that the consideration of applications that are on lots that are atypical in themselves in a district.
I'll give it a shot, taking the questions in turn. And I've made this point before to the committee concerning the overarching legal standard is whether the improvement as it is being proposed now. Obviously, there have been changes, and I'm sure the committee appreciates that, but they are to look at the snapshot of what is being proposed tonight with this amended design in terms of saying, yes, what we are now looking at, in our view, we find that to be congruous or incongruous with, and again, this is directly from the statute, with the special character of the district in light of the design guidelines. The guidelines themselves aren't the standard. Each guideline is not a standard. It's quite possible for a single guideline not to be satisfied, but overall for the committee to find that as a whole, as the application is now being styled and as the improvements are being proposed, we find that overall the proposal is harmonious, is congruous or not incongruous, even though one design guideline or more specific guidelines aren't satisfied. Conversely, it's possible for the committee to find that one guideline is so important and so critical, and their view of that guideline is so significant in terms of the overall determination to be made, that they find that carries the day, and in their view, the one issue, one guideline, causes them to feel that overall the proposal is not congruous. So I think that's an important part to just remember, that it's not just simply if one guideline in their view is not satisfied, it carries the day one way or the other. They have to go that second level to the overall legal standard of congruity with the special character of the district, which is the reason behind looking primarily at contributing structures, because contributing structures count in terms of determining what the special character is. That is the standard for measurement. Non-contributing structures
However, there
do
should
not.
be some leeway with new construction because we don't want to mimic the historic district. So there should be some divergence on new construction from the contributing structures.
And I understand that's a different sub-issue, if you will, but I fully understand, appreciate that. I think, Aaron, your second point was relating to the numbers of revisions and so forth, and I think I've responded to that. I mean, the proposal as it is before you this evening, that is the application that you're making your decision about, not the evolution from the original to where the committee is right now. And Colette, can you help me one more time with the other point you suggested?
Yes. Considering a request for a property that is itself atypical to the character of the district, how that can impact the review generally.
As a matter of law, I don't think I have an answer for that. You take the site as you find it, the committee takes the site as they find it. And I would say that the fact that Mr. Milano and Ms. Milano own the adjacent lot, that's not to be considered. You're looking simply at the fact that there is the lot that is proposed to be the site for this home, and does it work or not? Does it meet the congruity standard or not? But whether the fact that this lot has challenging topography, that is a factor to consider. But obviously the overall design of this structure, how big it needs to be, what shape, what living areas, the driving elements in the home that the owner felt were important, that doesn't necessarily drive the committee to determine that all of these, in order to build a house with these parameters, you say, all right, that's a given, and now the site is so difficult, it causes there to be, difficult determinations to make as to congruity. Obviously, an entirely different house of a different size and scale and scope could have been proposed on this site. So I think it is probably important to just point out that the challenging site is not something that particularly should work either to the benefit or to the detriment of the applicant. You simply have to look at it overall, site and proposed improvements.
Thanks.
Any additional questions from the committee?
I have a few more, Wes, if that's okay. Thank you, Raz, for that clarification. So, Ms. Christine, the staff report noted missing evidence for the built mass to the surrounding properties. And can you offer any evidence there?
And I'll add a little bit of context for that. That's been a staff concern from the get-go. However, I want to reiterate that any particular figure, I understand having some objective figures that can be compared across the board, make it a little bit easier for you as a committee to provide consistency and know where things are falling in the realm of congruity with surrounding structures. But built mass or calculations and this property falling within the range of that amongst the lots, or built area falling within the range, that's not necessarily a foregone conclusion that the design provides overall congruity. Particularly with built mass, we need to work on that because it does not, through that calculation, differentiate between a one-story structure or a three-story structure. So I just want to provide the caveat that we've kind of moved forward even without that information provided. But it can be helpful as a measure at times. We usually include it. So we've just kept that in there in case it's additional information that could be provided.
And I'm trying to ask some questions that maybe we never even got to on the, I appreciate the context of it. It's been in the report, but some of my questions are trying to get to a detailed level where we understand other parts of the application that unfortunately we haven't been able to even get to previously. And Ms. Christine's pulling it up. Thank you. And I think when I was looking through the application this week, just doing I appreciate, I'll let you answer the question, but this is the figure I was thinking of, and I think it's mostly setbacks, but I was going to do a squint test to the lot sizes, and then the built area is sort of like a figure ground. So whether it's built area or built mass, I'm seeing a lot of black on this lot compared to the others. So,
Okay, so if you look at lot 19, which is similar in size to our lot, you can see their built mass is actually quite larger, and their proximity to the setbacks is closer. So we have actually, in comparison to a lot that is similar to ours, our built mass is actually percentage-wise less.
okay,
There's a
thank you.
built area comparison on page 4 or page 7 of the PDF if you're on your computer.
Yep, I am. Thanks. Okay, and then thanks for answering that. The facade materials and the mix of brick for the full height. I mean, I feel we've seen a lot of updates, but there's still a lot of mix of brick and lap siding. Is there evidence for that mix, maybe nearby or well-related?
So right here, we've got a brick foundation, and we've got horizontal siding right next door.
How
It's
about
14 Polk.
And am I understanding, if you'll pause there for just a second, on the house itself on the left side of the front elevation, am I understanding correctly that that is brick, or is that okay? So do we have evidence of brick and lap siding above the base of the building?
Well, this house right here on 416 is all brick facade. And then on the
But
back, it's
does
a
it-
combination
okay.
of brick and siding.
Okay. And then last question, the staff concerns about some of the window details. I see there's generally a language of kind of a single grill down the center within a multi-light pattern. It's a casement operation, okay, and it's simulated divided light. Is that right?
Didn't we put the window in there? I thought we did.
Okay. There is a cut sheet in here. I can find it. Mr. Chair, that's all my questions.
A-series for Anderson.
I've just got a couple questions. They're kind of detail oriented, but Rob is leading us in that direction, so I'll take up the lead. So one little question about your front elevation, just a clarification really. For the roof over your front porch, I'm noticing on the left-hand side a 12 and 8 slope to meet, and then on the right-hand side a 12 and 6. Is that correct? that they slope differently on each side? Okay. The other question I had about your front facade, is your intention with your brick section from roof line to foundation for all of your brick to be the same color? Okay. And is your siding also that same color? Okay. Let's see. The last one I was hoping to get some feedback from you on is for your rear porch, the upper rear porch. Can you give me some insight as to your reasoning for making that a solid guardrail all around? Is there evidence for that? I'm just curious about it.
Yeah, it's just more of a privacy thing.
Okay.
You know, if you have children out there, it's just safer than railing.
Okay. Thank you. I think that was all for me.
Tracy, any questions? Okay. Jordan, any further questions? Rob?
Nope.
All right, go ahead and close the evidentiary portion of the hearing. Y'all can have a seat. Thank you very much. Now we'll proceed with committee discussion.
Question for staff, and this is related to our standard of review, just so we know what our next steps are. We've seen this case multiple times. We have to reach some decision due to time. Is that correct? I'm sorry to Aaron to make eye contact. You're the only
I
one
could
looking at me.
defer that answer to Raz. It's my understanding that every time you make a decision to defer, you are taking action on the case. But Raz can speak a little more to that legal timeline.
There is the shot clock in your rules on making the decision. Is it 90 days? Is that the right figure? The way that has been applied in the past is if there has been a deferral in making a final decision that is with the consent of the applicant, that is sort of mutually agreed upon, then the shot clock is stayed, or the shot clock is pushed back during that deferral period. So I'm not sure how that plays out in this case. I've got a general thinking that the deferral was more or less consensual. So it's not as though it's not as though we're on the 90th day and it's necessary to act immediately right now. But that's something that I think it would be prudent to ask if the applicant would consent, if you're moving in that direction, if that's something that you're all considering.
Okay, thank you. I'm just asking the question if we had to reach a conclusion this time, but I've got my answer. Thanks. Any other committee? Go ahead, Jordan.
There's really only two materials on the house. There's brick and there's siding. They are painted the same color, which, along with the trim, there's a good example, I think, of what it's kind of going to wind up looking like.
Mm-hmm.
There doesn't seem to be any evidence of that sort of cladding variety in the district on the same facade. But there are other contributing structures with various cladding patterns. Maybe they're not different materials, but there's some that are, shake and lap. That seems to be the main one that I'm seeing in the evidence presented. I think
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, you can.
Yeah, I have some comments. I know we just spoke about, we're reviewing the application that is before us as it currently stands. But we're also not here in a vacuum.
Yep.
We have a history with this application. It's the third time that it's being heard. And from the beginning, height has been an issue. When this application first came before us in December, staff estimates that the height of the structure was 41 feet, 10 inches. In February, it was 43 feet, 2 inches. Granted, it was cited differently on the site. And now it's 42 feet, 4 inches, according to staff estimates. And I know there's some discrepancy about height that we discussed earlier. Looking at on our staff report, the staff concerns, number one, bolded, last month's meeting, but I think both myself and Jordan made the point that a significant reduction in the overall height of the proposed building was likely critical to find this request congruous. And, the overall height of the structure has not been significantly reduced. I mean, it's actually taller than it was in December. Granted, it's cited differently, but so I do not think we need to defer this again. I would be in support of some kind of action today.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Wes, I'm appreciative of that. And I think, when I was saying to Aaron, I was trying to get to other, dialogue about the project. There is a list of lengthy staff concerns that are generally related to lack of evidence that we haven't even talked about, and some of those, like,
I think it would be a good idea to kind of point those out, talk about them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just looking. You addressed the first two staff concerns, Wes, but there's also,
and as you can tell, that's where I am. That's my main concern. And you coming with with your architectural background, you were able to highlight some of these other issues.
Well, and I think we were speaking about them experientially, but the staff report, to me, the staff concerns 4 and 5 are stated very, very well about the specifically number 5, evidence of a main gable roof with separate prominent cross gable dormers and/or porch roof, accent over the front steps was provided, contributing evidence to demonstrate the cascading accent gable roof lines one side. Larger gable roof lines was not provided. Now I know we saw some cascaded examples, but maybe one. I think the one I keep coming back to, Wes, you're talking overall height, but I think staff comment or concern 6, which is about the evidence to support the location of the front entry above the ground floor when viewed from the street was not provided, because a lot of the examples are still, the front entry is close. If it's a tall building, the front entry is close to the street level. And when it's above the street level, the roof is just much less prominent, unless it's like a tower or a feature. And it's just, I'm not getting congruity out of both ends of the building. Staff concern 8, no evidence of well-related nearby buildings was provided to support congruity of the proposed size, scale, and massing, which is aligned with my questions about, the setback and the built area and just kind of the figure ground of it on the lot. I appreciate the example of one nearby property, but I don't know if that is enough to state that it's not incongruous. I'll stop there.
Any other discussion from the committee? Jordan?
Yeah, without being repetitive, I think the height is what maybe is the starting point for our concerns, but it's seemingly the cause of a lot of the other concerns. I mean, the size or the apparent size or mass, height. There's a lot of interchangeable maybe words we can use there. They force some of the detailing that's being expressed on the various facades, and there's just not. I haven't seen enough evidence today or in the past that tells me that it's congruous with the other contributing structures in the district. Yeah.
Lauren, any comments?
Yes, just to follow up, I think that in terms of, similar to what Jordan has said, in terms of the height, it drives some of the other things that become concerning. Like for me, one of the diagrams I feel like I'm really missing as evidence is a proportion diagram that's laid out pretty clearly in the guidelines. That would, if you drew a diagonal over the front of a well-related building and then drew the same diagonal, are they relating proportionally? In not having that kind of evidence. And instead, we have photographic evidence of other buildings which seem to have squarer proportions, symmetry in the well-related ones on your block. And so not having that evidence and having photographic evidence that's pretty swaying to the other direction for me just makes this feel that it does not meet congruity proportionally.
Tracy?
I would like to see more evidence of, again, that front door being at that height above the ground level, the sidewalk level, and evidence of the combination of brick and lap siding on the front elevation of the house.
All right, any other comments from the committee? Go ahead.
It's a question for you guys. Or I guess, Wes, it seemed like you maybe had a motion in mind.
I do.
Okay, I'll let you cook then.
All right. Based on the concerns raised in the staff report and based on the concerns raised at the table during discussion, I move that the application be denied. Is there a second? All right. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right. That's unanimous. All right. This doesn't happen very often. My apologies. It's my hope that everything that you all have heard in these last 3 meetings, you can go back to the drawing board and hopefully present an application that this committee can approve. But I'm sorry things are not turning out the way you want them to. All right. At this time, we'll take a 10-minute recess. to order. We're ready to proceed to the next application. This is COA 0015-2024, 533 Northeast Street. I'll recognize staff for its presentation.
Sure. So as you mentioned, this is case 15, 2024 for 533 Northeast Street, which is located in the Oakwood Historic District and is a general HOD. The project request is to construct a retaining wall, to rebuild and alter the front steps, and to install handrails. And you can see the property here on Northeast is just the first one to the south from Oakwood Commons. This is a view from Northeast Street, and we'll be focusing on the front here. This is a view from the north looking south in front of the park. And again, a little closer in front of the driveway walkway area. And this is a view from south of the house looking back towards it. And again, and a detail of the current front steps. A summary of staff concerns, there's really primarily one, and that is supporting evidence for the use of a concrete or stone cap on steps. And then generally, some material details and specifications that are usually provided as conditions.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and ask the applicant to come forward. Is the applicant here? Have we seen them? Do we know what they look like? Mark and Patricia Hyde?
We have met them. I couldn't tell you what they look like, though.
Maybe they stepped out during the recess? Have they? I don't feel like everyone's here who's been here.
We could push that to the end of
Yeah,
the
let's do
agenda,
that.
just in case.
Yeah. All right. Next, this is COA 23-2024, 1535 Carolee Mills Court, number 220. Recognize staff for their presentation.
This is case COA 23-2024 for 1535 Carolee Mills Court, specifically Unit 220. And this is the Carolee Mills Raleigh Historic Landmark property. The request is to remove non-historic wood windows and install fiberglass windows. So this is a view of the overall front of the property from Maywood Avenue. The just more overall views as we step closer. This is a view from the rear parking lot. About where you see that brick stack is roughly the location of the unit, its interior in that central courtyard, so not visible from any street. And this is the tower where the windows are located. This is the east side, I believe. And a little more in terms of context with the two-story section of the original mill building and a detailed shot of those existing windows. And this has been shored up a bit. The owner wanted to stabilize the glass while waiting for the hearing. Staff concerns are that this is proposed work to a character-defining feature and will create a mix of window types where historically mill windows are identical. Proposed window design will not exactly match the existing. Full window specifications, including a scaled section detail and Muntin profiles, were not provided, and a physical sample of the proposed substitute material product was not provided. That's not necessarily required, but is sometimes useful to you as a committee as you evaluate new substitute materials.
All right, thank you.
And there is a presentation from the applicant.
Is the applicant here? All right, good. Please come forward and introduce yourself.
I am Emily Bestimt, homeowner.
Jason Bestimt, homeowner.
All right, great. Please both raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right, thank you. You may proceed.
Great. And this is a printout of the presentation. In an effort to respond to staff comments, and in the absence of the ability to provide the substitute materials, I did try to work with our provider who's also here. And if you'll notice in the center section, Anthony is holding up from the balcony, is holding up a sample of the window next to the existing windows to get a sense for the view from the ground and do a material comparison. This is also an example of the proposed mutton profile alongside the existing mutton profile. We're very comfortable with the match, and had thought that this profile was provided to the commission, so that's our apologies there. This is just further example of the current match from the proposal to the existing in terms of size and look. That's not me. Sorry.
All right, anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay, all right. Are there any members of the public who wish to make comment on the case? If you'd like to, please come forward. Please state your name.
Annie Mack.
All right, well, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Absolutely.
Thank you. You may proceed.
I also am a homeowner at Carolee, and similar windows. I'm on the first floor facing front. And when I moved in 8 years ago, I too had to repair my windows. They're very old. They're wood. There's wood rot.
Can you speak a little closer to the mic,
Sure.
please? Thank you.
So we had a historical window person at that time come in, do the work, perfect match, it was all good. It's very hard for us to find anyone to do this work because it's a historical building and we have to follow the guidelines. We don't want to lose that. The wood rot that we face in this community because the building is so old, because of the moisture, we could repair them all day long with the same material. And they just can't hold because they're old. So obviously, we don't want to lose our historical status, but we have to come up with a plan that is approved by you where we can maintain the integrity of our homes because we're getting water, we're getting mold, we're getting mildew in multiple units. And we don't know what to do. We have repointed the building many times, many areas, but we have been told if the windows aren't fixed, it's a waste of time to keep repointing because water travels and it's going in, it's moving over. We never know where it's going to come. But that's one of the reasons that we were very happy that Emily and Jason were able to meet with this company and come up with a plan that will visually not change the look of the building. It's a different material for sure, but nobody works in wood, and that's our hardest problem. We cannot find vendors that can work in the same, in wood and that can handle those weights of those windows are frightening. And to be able to even open and close, none of us can really do that because it can't support it. They're too heavy. So I'm just here to back them up. We all have a problem here. It's not just them. We all need to be able to come up with a plan so we can fix our windows. There's 82 units at the mill, I believe, and I will tell you that 75 of them need new windows. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Any additional members of the public who wish to provide comment on the case? Yeah, come forward, please. Please state your name.
Carrie Bornkessel.
All right. raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you are about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you may proceed.
So really wanting to second what Annie Mac said. I am on the historical group in the building and trying to make sure that we can maintain things and match the look of the building. This is something that we need. People replaced the wood on the windows, and shortly after it rots again. And we need to have a company that can come in and give us consistency and do the work for us in a timely fashion, and let us get a plan in place so that we can get the windows fixed and do the brick pointing that we need to do at the same time. We love our home. We love this historic building, and we are never going to do anything to try and alter the way that it looks and the beauty that we think is what makes it home for us.
Thank you. Any additional comment from the public on the case? Please state your name.
Anthony Jones.
All right. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right. So with the concerns about the window itself, what we're proposing is an insert method, which was allow us to keep the frame.
And I'm going to assume you work for the window company.
Yes,
I just
I'm
want
sorry.
to put that on the record. All right, thank
I'm the project manager for Marvin Replacement.
Right, thank you.
So what we're looking at is trying to keep the structural frame and using the insert method. So the dimension of the window itself will be a bit smaller, but it does fall in line of that 2-inch margin there. The grid line designs, mutton profiles are really close. It's going to be really close match to what you have there now. That there, I don't have a worry or issue. It's just we want to make sure that we can seal this tight. And again, we are a fiberglass window company. And this too will ensure to help any rot, water prevention, damaging, stuff like that. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Any additional comment from the public? All right. Hearing none, we will proceed with any questions of the applicant from the committee.
Hi. I've got several here, believe it or not. I know it's just windows, but
No,
there's a lot of them on this building.
It's not just windows to me anymore.
Yeah. So first off, it's a good application, very thorough. Thank you for all the background. I'm trying to piece together some of the information. So the building, I remember when it was renovated, 2002 to 4-ish, and they were historically accurate wood windows that were manufactured for that renovation. Is that, to the best of your knowledge?
My
correct?
understanding.
Okay. And then in this particular location, you've already had to replace, or some of the windows have been replaced due to a storm, it sounded like?
That was prior to us taking ownership of the unit, yes. And the condition of those windows when we took ownership in 2018 was already, that deterioration was beginning.
Okay.
So we've done some repair on those windows. These have left us with the desire to seek out other options, which we've been doing since 2021.
And at that time, was there an attempt was the replacement provided by the person who had provided the original replacement windows in 2002?
It was my understanding, as I was told by our real estate agent and a prior owner within the mill, that They were unable to find a single window vendor who would do the work following the storm. So they divided that work among 6 or 7 vendors, one of them being Easy Glass, which is who replaced our windows but would not provide any guarantee on the work. And so the windows are all a little different throughout our unit because they were all done by different vendors. We have attempted to contact some of them, and they are either unable or unwilling, or we didn't feel confident in the work for various reasons for this particular set of windows.
I get it. And thank you for that. And then did you consult with staff about potential vendors that are out there? And maybe I'll offer also, it looks like Preservation North Carolina has some resources on their website for custom window manufacturers.
Yeah, so I've contacted probably a dozen or more at this time, and interviewed or received quotes from 6 to 8, some of whom are, many of the contacts that I've received are either no longer working, unavailable for this type of work, businesses have closed down, or they're, things along those lines. So,
Okay.
yeah, but I've as recently as last week continued to try to find additional information and vendors, and what I was told is that they would not do a complete wooden window. So that's a lot of what I'm hearing.
Okay. And a couple more maybe detailed questions. Is that sample window that we're seeing in this photo, is that here tonight or?
Truck or anything?
Okay. That's okay. I thought I would ask. And then I'd like to ask a couple questions to the project manager from Marvin, if that's okay, if you don't mind returning back to the podium. Thank you. So just question about sort of means and methods. The application does mention, potentially replacing them from the inside, and then you just mentioned trying to leave some of the frame there.
Yes.
Assuming it's in good shape. Could you just walk us through the steps that you would propose one more time?
Yes, for sure. All right, so right now what we would do is inside they have an interior wood jamb. We would remove the jamb, and then you will have the sash itself. Remove the sash, keeping the existing frame. We will definitely check that out to make sure it's in standing condition. Once we have everything open, frames intact, we will install the picture window. They will be stacked on top of each other, mold together with a 1/2-inch mold. Once the windows are inserted, we will be replacing the wood jamb with PVC material, and that is to further the protection of any water damage. So pretty much what's getting replaced are jambs, interior, exterior, and the sashes themselves, keeping the wood frame structure. So everything's going to fit in there to a pocket fit.
Okay. And there was a staff concern about the glass, and this has come up recently, and it's being proposed within a building that has a lot of other windows. Would you be able to provide the example of the sash itself for staff to review if we were to,
Yes.
depending on how we.
Just like, for example, the picture of that sash that we brought up.
A physical sample of it.
Yes.
And then also, is there a glass that would be compatible with the glass on the other units in this building, just to make sure that what is included here doesn't deviate from the rest of the building, so it doesn't, look like completely different window. Is that possible?
Right. We can bring a sample of a sash itself that we can, hands-on with it. Concerning the glass, we have the low E2, E3 options. It's going to be clear view. There's no tint. And we have it's like an off-white glazing bead that we use between glass and frame.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't have any more questions at this time.
I will just add, in terms of potentially trying to condition that staff review a physical product, that's really something that the committee should be seeing when they
Okay.
make their decision.
All right. Thank you.
I have a question for you as well. Is this proposed product the same as the Marvin Ultrex product?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for the applicant. Just to confirm, and it sounded like, in terms of the installation, that we're talking about taking what is currently at least designed to be an operable window and now making it non-operable, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Unfortunately, we don't feel comfortable with the operation of the windows that are operable right now for a number of safety and other reasons, such as the awning style is what it is right now, and it's created problems for us and additional deterioration.
Is that due to the weight and deterioration of the window?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know exactly.
Well, is your
but
concern,
I
I
assume so,
think,
yeah.
that it feels...
That, and because we do have children and there is no screening capability,
Mm-hmm.
so they can just hop right on out if they want
And
to.
they, as I presume the current windows are lockable?
Yes, they
Okay.
are. Yes.
All right. Thank you. That was it.
Yeah, and there is a mix in our unit. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 9 windows, all of different glass makeups. And some are lockable, some are fixed, some are awning, some are open, traditional, so it's...
Got you. But just to be clear, the two we're talking about are
awning
style and
Correct.
operable
But we have
currently.
had to seal them up
Gotcha.
for some time for water concerns. Yeah.
Got you. Thank you.
And I just want to add to the record, so it's in the record, we don't actually review the operability of the windows, but that does potentially impact the profiles of the windows, which we do review. So, you know, we're not concerned with whether you can open the window or not from a congruity standpoint, but we are concerned with the profile that translates from that.
Thank you. That is helpful.
Any additional questions? Tracy? Rob?
Just one that, and it might need Raz's ears paying attention to me on this, but sorry in advance, Raz. But I did see that you had approval from your homeowners association to do this work, so I appreciate that being included. Am I right that each tenant or each unit owner is required to maintain their own windows?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
It was
So-
not always that way, but it has been since we've taken ownership.
Yeah,
Okay.
the 2012 window replacements and repointing work following the tornado was, it's my understanding that was undertaken by the full HOA organization, and that since going through that work, they maybe are not interested in that anymore.
However, I will say that I have brought that to the attention of the HOA for future consideration, so that in the event that additional window requests are submitted, you don't have to hear 85. So we are discussing opportunities for that.
And while I'm talking, and this is the last thing I'll say, also for the record, you know, every COA case that you receive is on a case-by-case basis. There are unique individual factors at play in each case. So the approval of one application does not guarantee the approval of another application. Just putting that on the record.
Okay, right, yeah, and the whole HOA thing, an interesting fact, but I don't think it really bears on for this case, but, you know, yeah, I get why you're asking the
Okay.
question.
We can come back to it in the committee discussion.
I do also want to, one thing that Anthony did not mention is that Jason, shout out to Jason over here, has gone to 3 different crane vendors to try to identify a very specific type of crane that we will use in the installation process that is required for the safety of the installation. So.
Mr. Chair, I don't have any other questions.
All right, thank you. You can have a seat. We'll close the evidentiary portion of the hearing and move to committee discussion.
mean, I'm appreciative. Thank you, Aaron, for all that context. I'm appreciative of it. This building has, well, it's got really beautiful and consistent fenestration. So when we start talking about replacing just 2 of a couple hundred, it seems like, you know, potentially precedent setting. And I know, Wes, I understand that the HOA is not part of necessarily our concern, but how this would be dealt with in future cases, I think is worth considering. And the applicants have tried to find other resources for repair and replacement. And part of the staff report did include, you know, that some updated text about you know, historic replacement materials being acceptable when, you know, certain workmanship is not available. When I visited the site, these couple of windows are they are in very bad shape, but I did observe other windows where you could see deterioration. So while this is just this one case, I'm looking into a very clear crystal ball where we see other cases. So I think it's worth giving consideration to trying to get it right here.
Yeah, no, and I'm a big fan of alternative materials, especially dealing with how quickly wood rots.
I would honestly feel better seeing the physical sample. I understand not being able to just put that on staff. I don't know if you all agree with that. Photos are nice. It's always better if we can see the sample.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I'm a little less with you because it's a product we've already reviewed and approved. I think the glass is probably the biggest real question mark remaining. Obviously, before it was a different application. It wasn't this exact type of window, but it, you know, fairly close.
But I feel like we could hear several cases of replacement windows on this building with similar evidence provided and confidence that it will look the same, and you know, from multiple manufacturers, and eventually the building doesn't look as cohesive as it does now. So I would feel more comfortable with physically seeing the sample.
I guess is that gonna, which way does that make you lean? To deferment?
It does.
Is there a condition that we could place on this? Is there a way for the committee to see it?
Unfortunately, that sash was not there when I did my site visit.
Yeah.
Only
yeah.
the deteriorated one.
I
But
guess
that
I meant the sample.
can also not recommend deferral, and doesn't have to be. You all don't have to agree with me, as you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, any deferral would be to next month and not the standard, 2 months we do for when an applicant has to make major revisions to their application.
Sorry. Before we move on, I just wanted to, another question for staff. Not to harp on the point, but to follow up on the operable window question. I do find some language in the guidelines regarding retaining operable windows to take advantage of natural ventilation. I'm sort of taking a line of thought similar to Rob's, where if this becomes a precedent for the entire building then becoming potentially non-operable, does that inherently change something about the building that is currently historic?
I would say that the COA process regulates general exterior appearance So while maintaining operability of these windows, particularly given the construction techniques used at the time and that sort of free flow of fresh air as a method of ventilating the building and lighting the building, is very worthwhile to keep intact. I would recommend that for any building that they maintain operable windows, that it's not ultimately a part of the legal purview.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I'm indifferent about deferral, but I can defer to your desire to defer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm sympathetic to the applicant's need for new windows.
I am too. If they owned the whole building and there was, was a small collection of these windows that were similar, I feel like it would be less. And I know we've said it's not necessarily setting a precedent for how we have to vote on future cases, but it's a very, very regular pattern on this building. So it will be back in some manner. And again, you all don't have to agree with me. I'm not
No, I think it's good.
making a motion.
I think it's reasonable.
I think that's a good
reasonable.
point. I mean, if it's different if we were reviewing a house as opposed to a condo with many different owners.
Okay.
You were about to say something?
Just if this helps, it's understandable why the committee is very concerned about precedent, because this is a big-time textbook example of where one decision can be pointed to as justification for many, many more similar applications. An approval of any case is not a legally binding precedent. It's simply a matter of trying to give the right signals and not to be all over the place, to have consistency in your decisions. If you like, you probably could distinguish this by saying that the decision was made without having viewed a sample in light of the need to have this particular applicant's window repaired in short order, and it is not binding, and that it should be in the record that the committee could decide differently, particularly if samples are provided at a future time. Not suggesting that as something that would be an excellent idea, but that is something that you could consider.
You can also call out the specifics of this case in your final facts that would sort of draw the line of how this application is different from others that may come before you. I'd point you to the staff report, which knows that this is technically at the roof level of this property. It's the tallest area that's occupiable. So it's potentially the least visible from the ground, the hardest to reach with equipment, depending on how you service the windows. It is a unique condition on the property.
Thank you for that. Mr. Chair, could we bring the applicants back up to ask them questions, if that's okay?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and reopen the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
Thanks. You've been listening along. I know deferral might not be what you wanted, but I think I would feel more comfortable with it. Would you? I'm sure you can bring a sample of the window to the next application. And fortunately, I don't think there would be a lot of additional work to your application. It's just bringing the sample. Would it be feasible to bring part of the existing sash for comparison?
don't think I could safely do that. What I can do, though, is because the some of the interior muntins have been double-sided taped on, they have now fallen off, and I could bring some of those, if that's useful.
I would take it. I would like, if we ask for the sample of the new window, it just helps to have some basis of comparison. And so I think that would be helpful. And, hopefully we would get there, but.
Is it possible, I don't know if there's a precedent for this on the commission, but is it something where you could say upon review of a sample that would allow a certain approval condition, or that you could say somehow just to, in interest of avoiding additional future repairs? I don't know if that's possible from a time perspective.
I think if you need to see a sample to make your decision, that you could not provide conditional approval until you see that sample. But otherwise, you could choose to approve it without a sample, either way.
And for the sake of operability, I will let you know there are other operable windows on that floor, so it would not seal it off entirely. I appreciate it personally.
Okay, thanks. I do not have any other questions, but looks like.
Additional questions from the
Have you
committee?
been given a timeline for installation? Like, how long would it take?
Well, you can speak to that.
We're looking at a week. We may be able to get done sooner, but we're not trying to rush this process. But we're looking at a week's time of install.
Okay.
After 8 weeks of building the windows.
Yeah, we have a 6 to 8 week lead time.
Okay.
Any other questions from the committee?
I think evidence that the glass will be clear is really important here, that to the point of potentially having multiple different types of glass, and some of them are reflective and some of them are not, that would really truly alter the character of the building a lot.
Yeah, even if the example sash kit did not have the exact glass, if you had a sample of the exact glass, if it needed to be separate, it'd be great if they were one and the same, but we could make do with if it needs to be two. I understand you're probably limited on like the combinations that you can get, so just want to be reasonable, but.
Okay, what I can do is I can definitely look into trying to get a glass sample. It's going to be difficult just because of availability on our part, but that's something I can definitely look into.
I understand, but I would appreciate that. I think that would be helpful evidence to provide.
Any further questions?
If it's all right, I just
go ahead.
wanted to reiterate that there are several different types of glass: true divided light, simulated true divided light, double pane, single pane, in our unit already, so there is not current consistency. So part of what I'm hoping to do with these two replacements is to create some consistently, at least on one wall. So.
And more for Lauren and Tracy, since this is your second meeting, but to build on that, the COA process, because it focuses on the exterior appearance of windows or anything, technically what's happening on the backside, the interior half of those windows, is not in our purview either. So they could be unpainted. They could have privacy film glass applied to them. They can have, some sort of mechanical vent running straight past the window, which the National Park Service would not approve of. They look inside, but our process does not. So even if you can see something funky going on from the outside, if it's located on the inside half, basically, same thing for insulated glazing. It's just what it is from the outside.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? I'll go ahead and reclose the evidentiary hearing. Back to committee discussion. You just want to go ahead and make a motion, Rob?
Yeah.
Okay.
I move to defer and review at next month's meeting with a sample.
All right. Motion's been made to defer to the May meeting. Is there a second? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries unanimously. I'm sorry that I'm sure you're hoping for approval today. I think we're almost there. There's some, oh, yeah.
Aaron's been amazing, by the way.
I will email you, if not tomorrow, on Monday. So, okay.
All right, thank you. We'll see you next month. All right. Are Mark and Patricia Hyde here? All right, we'll move on to COA 31, 2024, 914 Dorothea Drive. Recognize staff for their presentation.
And I can confirm that the property owner is present. All right, as you mentioned, this is COA 31, 2024 for 914 Dorothea Drive. It is located in the Boylan Heights Historic District, a general HOD. The nature of the request is to install a 47-inch fence and gate and install screen plantings. This is a view of the property from Dorothea. And again, a little bit closer. The area of the proposed fence, if I can get the mouse to work, is along the side of the house, closing off the side yard here, which you can barely see. Maybe a little better here, from the corner of the house to the edge of the current fence. And there are no staff concerns.
All right, will the applicant please come forward? Please introduce yourself.
Sure, my name is Allison Hutchins, and I'm the applicant and owner at 914 Dorothea Drive.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I am here to answer any questions. I appreciate the help of staff in writing the staff report. The main reason for this is kind of safety. We have 2 young kids, and to provide a little bit more delineation between creating a backyard of our side yard and an increasingly public front yard. So I appreciate your consideration. I'm available for questions.
All right. Seeing no members of the public in attendance, we'll go ahead and proceed with committee questions. If anyone has any. All right, hearing none, we'll close the evidentiary portion of the hearing, move to committee discussion, if there is any. Who wants to make a motion? I don't have the conditions in front of me, so someone else do it.
I can. Based on the evidence provided in the application and in the evidentiary hearing this evening and the staff report, I make a motion that we approve the application with the following condition: that any new post holes be dug manually and tree roots larger than 1-inch caliper that are encountered while digging shall receive a clean final cut using tools designed for the purpose, such as loppers.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the application subject to the stated conditions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank
you. Decision will be final after next month's meeting when the minutes are approved and signed, and then you will receive the blue placard. Is that correct? Yes? Okay, great. Thank you. So what's the proper procedure for when an applicant doesn't show up? Do we just defer to the next month?
Yep, defer to me.
Okay. Do we need a vote to do that, or we're just automatic?
Yes.
If that's the custom, that's fine.
fine.
I mean, there's nothing that would prohibit you all from proceeding, even though the owner is not here. If you wanted to just, I have no idea if the case is controversial or if there's staff concerns raised. That option is available to you, but if by custom you defer, that is fine as well.
Our instructions recently have been that if the property owner does not appear, the case cannot be heard.
Okay.
Or an attorney on their behalf.
All right, I make a motion that we defer the application for 533 Northeast Street to May's meeting.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Any committee discussion? All right, turn things over to staff. I believe we need to do a drawing.
Yes. So this is very atypical, but as part of the Prince Hall Historic Overlay District property owner survey, included in our advertisement was that anyone who answered the survey would be entered into a drawing to win a gift card. And we are giving out 5 gift cards. So I have put all the names of the property owners or entities that responded to the survey into a random name generator, which I have selected from randomwordgenerator.com. So I'm going to generate some names.
Drum roll.
All right. So it does it automatically, and it says that our 5 winners are Malhotra Holdings, LLC, South Person Street, LLC, Edna Rich Valentine, Deborah Heisen, and Mary Milazzo and Benjamin Scott,
All right.
one property owner.
Congratulations to them. Anything else from the committee or staff? Seeing none, this meeting is...
Yes, sorry.
Whoa.
I'm so slow. I'm sorry. So I just wanted to double down a little bit on that built mass discussion I started to have during a case with y'all. That's something we meant to bring up at the COA training that I totally spaced on. If you have any questions about that, feel free to ask us, but I'm just acknowledging out loud that built mass doesn't really measure overall size of a building in true form anyway. And just want to make sure that y'all don't feel like you are bound to approve something because you've been given one built mass calculation that exceeds what's being asked for in the district. That does not equate to congruity automatically. So
Understood, yeah.
Y'all know that. I want to reiterate it. And then we did have one more thing. Oh, Raz.
Yeah. Just FYI, Catherine Hill will be taking over as legal counsel to the committee. It's been, 4 years, 5 years, time sure flies, but it's been really nice learning a lot of new subject matter, meeting a lot of nice folks. Catherine is spectacularly good. She's, one would think because she's young and charming and just delightful to be around that she can't possibly be a killer attorney, but she is really, really knowledgeable and very effective at what she does. So you'll have very nice hands now, be in very nice hands with someone who is with the city attorney staff, where I worked for many, many, many years. And I think Catherine will be splendid. And I may be around to do some fill-in work if she needs a stand-in. But this will be the last time when I'm your primary in attendance hearing counsel.
Speaking on behalf of the committee, we thank you for your service to the city and to us. It's been excellent guidance and advice, and we will miss you. So thank you. Anything else from the committee? All right, hearing none, we are adjourned.